Profit doesn't disappear suddenly. It leaks quietly, not through big decisions, but through small behaviors that go unquestioned. Most owners don't see it happening until the pressure shows up somewhere else than where they expect. Welcome to the Budding Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Randy Bridges, business advisor, consultant, coach, and trusted partner to service-based business owners who are serious about performance, profit, and progress. This podcast exists to do one thing: help you solve the real problems that stall your growth, kill momentum, and burn out the very people who built your business. So let's get started, shall we? All right. Welcome back. We are on episode 232 of the podcast, and today is December 31st, 2025. I want to frame this episode as the last of the year, but also as the first real conversation that matters as we move into 2026. Not a new year, new you conversation, no hyping, no goal setting. Instead, let's start with a clarity conversation. Because for a lot of owners, the weird thing about the end of the year is you don't feel relief, you feel pressure. Even if revenue was solid, even if you had wins, even if you're supposed to be proud, there's still that sense that the business is heavier than it should be. So today I want to show you why that heaviness usually isn't personal. It often comes from one simple problem: you built the business backward. And if that lands with a little sting, let me take the sting out of it. Backwards doesn't mean wrong. Backwards means common. Most service businesses are not designed. They're survived into existence. So if this sounds familiar, it doesn't mean you failed. It usually means the business grew and the structure underneath didn't grow in the right sequence. So let's talk about what owners think the problem is, especially at year end. Now, here are some of the common ones. I need a better plan. I need to push harder. I need to hold people accountable. I need a better tool. I need better meetings. And look, some of those might be true in a small way, but here's the real test. If planning harder was the fix, January wouldn't feel heavier every year. If discipline was the fix, your best years wouldn't still come with exhaustion. If more effort was the fix, you wouldn't feel like you're carrying the business in your chest. So what's happening? Well, owners keep trying to relieve structural pressure with behavioral solutions. They try to fix the feeling of strain without fixing what creates the strain. And that's where we want to slow down just a bit, because the business doesn't just get heavy randomly. It gets heavy when weight gets added to a structure that wasn't built to carry it. Most business owners built their business in a sequence that looks like this. First, sell. Then deliver, patch, react, hire, add tools, and then try to lead. And if you're listening and thinking, yeah, that's basically what happens, that's normal. I see it all the time. I've made the same mistake myself. Because early on, the goal is to survive. You do what works. You move fast. You say yes. You figure it out. But what changes as you grow? Well, the business stops forgiving improvisation. At a certain point, every little workaround becomes a permanent tax. Every "we'll fix it later" becomes "we'll live with it now." And every time you rely on hero effort to deliver, you're borrowing from your margins, your team's energy, your own capacity, and your future freedom. That's why stress shows up. Stress is the body's alarm system. In business, stress is also the structure's alarm system. It's the signal that the business is asking for an upgrade, not because you're weak, but because the business is stronger than the structure it's running on. So here's a shift I believe you will want to carry into 2026. Don't ask, what do I need to do more of? Ask, what did I build out of order? Because when you build backwards, pressure shows up in predictable places. Thin profits, you have a full week even when you delegate. Your team works hard but needs constant direction. Tools multiply, but clarity doesn't. And planning feels like a wish instead of an engine. Now, I want to say this carefully. If the business feels heavier than it should, you don't need more ambition. You need the right business sequence. And the sequence starts with this. Stop treating pressure as proof you're behind. Treat pressure instead as proof that the business is asking to be rebuilt in the right order. Let me give you a real-world picture of this. I worked with an owner, great operator, smart, respected, service business, strong demand. Revenue wasn't the issue, but every year felt like the business got louder. More people, more customers, more moving pieces. And every year the owner would do the same thing. He'd sit down in December and say, "This year I'm going to plan better." So he planned. He set goals, added accountability, bought new tools, hired more people, and for a few weeks it felt better. But then February would come and the pressure returned. Not because the plan was bad, because the structure underneath the plan couldn't carry what the plan demanded. So in a business impact diagnostic, I changed the question for him. Instead of asking yourself, how do we grow? Start asking, what's carrying weight it was never designed to hold? And that's where the reality showed up. He was carrying decisions that should have been routinized. The team was carrying ambiguity that should have been clarified. The delivery process was carrying variation that should have been standardized. And profit was carrying the cost of all of it. Here's what changed first for him. Clarity. The business didn't magically get easier overnight, but the stress finally made sense. And when stress makes sense, you stop panicking. You stop stacking more effort on top of weak structure. You start rebuilding in the right order. So I'm going to give you one key question to sit with as you head into 2026. As you think about next year, what part of your business is carrying weight it was never designed to hold? That might be you carry decisions you shouldn't carry. Your team carries unclear expectations. Your margins carry chaos. Maybe your calendar lacks structure. Your systems carry too much variation. And worst of all, your customers carry the cost of your internal inconsistency. The key point is don't fix it today. Just name it. Because once you can name it, you can stop misdiagnosing it. And that alone will reduce the pressure. The point of today's episode wasn't to give you a new plan for 2026. It was to help you see why planning alone hasn't really relieved the pressure you feel. Doesn't mean you're behind. It usually means the business has outgrown how it's currently built. Now, if this episode helped you think more clearly, I'm glad you're here, because that's exactly why I do this show. And if you want the deeper structural breakdown of this, check out Saturday's strategic briefing. Don't forget, build it smart, run it clean, and stay aligned. That's it for this episode. I hope you picked up some valuable insights and maybe even sparked a few new ideas. If you want to keep the conversation going or maybe even explore partnerships, don't hesitate to reach out. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. The steps you take today could be the start of something big tomorrow. For the budding entrepreneur, I wish you the best in your health, your wealth, your business, your family, everything about you. Take care, and we'll see you back here next week.